I'm half Japanese from my mom's side, and my dad is half Native American and German. Okay, I'm gonna try Daijobu Boku Saikyou Dakara.
Are you gonna do any kicks with Taz Skylar soon? Yeah,
I hope so, yeah.
Kenshin versus Sanji.
He reached out to me a while ago, and he's like, dude, I've been watching your videos to help get inspiration for the kicking for my character.
Hey everybody, Max here again, and today I have a new guest. Can you introduce yourself real quick?
Yeah, guys, my name's Noah Flater. I'm an actor and martial artist. My cultural background is I'm half Japanese from my mom's side, and my dad is half Native American and German. So that makes me the rest of it.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
I didn't know half Native American was in there.
Yeah, Delaware Indian. Born and raised out of Los Angeles, born in Malibu, and then kind of crazy story, house got burned down when I was a baby in a huge Malibu fire, and I had to do preschool and kindergarten in Japan. And then we came back.
Oh, you did preschool in Japan. I didn't.
Yep.
Okay, I didn't know you lived in Japan. Okay.
Yep.
See, there's all this backstory. I mean,
I saved it for this.
You have been doing a lot in LA. I've been following you for maybe a couple years just because of Instagram.
Awesome, man.
And you're a martial artist. I used to do karate for about 10 years.
That's a long time. Did you do karate here or in Japan?
I did karate. I did Okinawa Kempo karate in North Carolina. I did karate with Machida.
Okay, love it.
Dojo here.
He's right down the hill.
Right down the hill. And then I also did go to a Shotokan dojo. I don't know if you know Naka Tatsuya. He was in a movie called Kuro Obi. So I've done it in 3 different locations.
Have you noticed like a major style difference between the 3?
I would say the sharpness in Japan is probably something very identifiable.
I
feel like USA is much more like, everyone is unique with their own individuality, so it's fine to have more power, but Japan's like everyone's kind of cookie cutter, make you the same way.
But you have such a wide range of excellence across the board in Japan than you do here.
The clarity and sharpness of the movements, I say, is very good in Japan.
I agree.
Individuality and maybe just power and creativeness, or it's kind of like how the cultures are, honestly.
It really is. Cultures affect the martial arts immensely.
Have you trained with Japanese people?
I have, especially in Japan. So the last time I went, I think I turned 18 that summer, and I graduated. My mom wanted me to go out with the family. We stayed for a month, and I asked if I could stay like an extra 2 months after my mom and my brother left. So I stayed with some relatives at that time, and I trained a lot of Japanese style martial arts, a lot of karate, and then a little bit of kendo. Yeah.
So you're there really 3 total months?
Yeah.
Hold on. It's Itachi.
Yeah, Itachi's running around us.
Just came around.
Yeah, I did it was maybe about 2.5, 3 months. Yeah.
Okay.
So that was the last time I'd been.
What were some of the main differences you saw between Japanese karate and American karate?
Some of the main differences between Japanese karate and American karate, it's kind of like what we just talked about, is you see an across the board sharpness and excellence in Japanese style, but it's really like the entire culture is all about community. Everything is about community in Japan, where in America, I think we lean a little bit away from community, but it affects the martial arts so much, where I think here, we have a lot of 1%ers that live here. Some of the best in the world live here, but the percentage gap is there's so many better martial artists that live in Japan across the board versus what we have here.
You're saying on average? On average. Japanese, you're hitting 7s and 8s pretty consistently.
Consistent.
America, extremes, 10s and 1s, maybe all over the board.
That's a better, for sure.
Is this like the dating market too? I've heard people say the same thing. Tokyo, on average, very attractive, but USA, it's like you're hitting the 10s and maybe not.
Yeah, everybody here is famous, or you're absolutely nothing.
Yeah. How did it affect you personally, training in Japan or America? Did you feel like you had to do a code switch at all?
That's interesting. I think being in Japan training, I wasn't there long enough. So I actually grew up going to Japan almost every single summer of my childhood. So every summer, what affected me the most was we would stay with family for about 4 to 6 weeks. That was my entire summer as a kid growing up. I thought that was the normal way to travel. So as soon as I turned 18, I was like, oh, I'll go to, I don't know, London for a month. And everyone's like, that's crazy. What are you doing? Blah, 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 blah. And I was like, no, you're supposed to learn to get to know your neighbors. Like I should know my neighbor's name. I should be able to train with like 3 different martial arts schools in that time. You can't do that in a week because most people travel like a week and a half, right? I think that was one of the biggest things that really changed the way I thought about the perspective of the world, especially with Japan versus LA. But yeah, the martial arts was completely different, honestly.
Do you remember any culture shocks you had when you're in Japan?
I definitely have one in particular story. I got beat as a child in Japan.
I love how you're laughing. Like, I got beat as a child.
I got beat as a child in Japan.
Why did you get beat? Sorry. Why did you get beat as a child?
It was a very innocent thing that I did as a kid. I wore outdoor shoes inside the class when you have indoor slippers. This is like, I think preschool, right? I had no idea. So I think we were just like, it was recess, we were playing outside, came inside, sat down, and they laid into me.
A teacher laid into you?
Yeah, I was a teacher,
yeah. They like corporal punishment.
Yeah. I think they took a ruler or a stick and like hit my like butt. But I remember like going home crying. I'm like, I hate it. I was so bad.
At the time, were you speaking Japanese?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. I was definitely speaking Japanese, but I was forgetting English. This is when we moved there more so. My dad's like classic American. And he's like, we're definitely gonna have to go back to America. He's forgetting English.
We need him to learn English.
Yeah, we need him to learn English.
You know, I know it's kind of in the middle of things, but let's test your Japanese.
Oh, geez.
So, we didn't go into it yet, but you are the face model for Kenshi.
Yes.
For Mortal Kombat. And he looks very similar to Gojo Sensei from Jujutsu Kaisen. So I wanted to ask you to say a Gojo phrase.
I just started season 2.
And you can read hiragana, right? So let's see.
I never said that. My Japanese is atrocious. I'm better at understanding the martial arts than I am speaking it.
Do you know Daijobu?
Daijobu? Like, are you okay?
Yeah. Do you know Saikyo?
Saikyo.
Your pronunciation is there.
Because I remember the alphabet really well. I don't remember Saikyo.
This is a scene.
大丈夫。僕最強だから。
It's okay because I'm the strongest.
Oh shit. Okay, I'm gonna try. 大丈夫。僕最強だから。
The ladies will swoon.
Oh no!
You're gonna start your OnlyFans for some of this content.
It's all right because I'm the strongest.
There you go.
That's so funny. He's one of my favorite characters. He's so good.
Let's actually talk about that because you do enjoy a lot of anime.
I love anime. Absolutely.
How has anime maybe inspired your martial arts? Have you ever copied choreography from anime specifically?
I'll give you one better. I'll nerd out a little bit. I grew up on Naruto heavily. So what actually really helped me was understanding that everybody has a demon inside of them. They have that thing inside of them that they're trying to conquer. So as a kid, I definitely felt like I related to Naruto in that aspect of I was always like the class clown. I was always running around, but I had this thing inside of me that I needed to learn to hyper focus. So outside of class, I tried to like learn to contain my 9 tails. This is me as like a little kid.
This is so nerdy.
Yeah, this is me as like a 10-year-old.
Yeah.
When I'm like trying to figure out my identity almost and like where I'm gonna go. I related to so much of Naruto outside of the martial arts school. Inside the school, it was so annoying. I was called like the golden child or like the superstar, and like everybody like shined so much attention on me as a kid.
Did you not like that?
I hated it because the instructors would all praise me and it separated me from the rest of the class where everybody kind of looked at me a lot differently with like jealousy or some ego involved, or I was the pinnacle and there were a lot of people that were like, they wanted to be able to beat that. So I was put as an outcast and I felt like Sasuke in that regard. And I was trying to find ways to like relate to that character too, but especially when I was sparring. I learned, and this is kind of really important, I was like, I freaking love the Sharingan so much. And I was like, I want that eye.
Are you gonna put me in a genjutsu right now?
Speak some Japanese, put you in a genjutsu. But I was like, the ability to copy somebody's movements.
I'm Kakashi, the copy ninja. I know 1,000 jutsu.
It interests me so much. I like really taught it's really your brain, but you know, teaching the ability to watch movement and just be like, I understand, copy it. That's something I really developed over time. And it like goes into like, for Mortal Kombat, I did 8 of the main characters.
Yeah.
Most people can't do that. And I combined 3 different martial arts per character, more or less.
Yeah.
So to be able to like watch something, and this is half the time I'm like, okay, what's a style that we need to incorporate? I'll watch a video, I'll be like, got it, understand it, and I'll just do it.
Damn, that's
It
crazy.
started as a kid though, just being like, Sasuke, so
And it's
cool.
it all started from Sasuke.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking like these studios are like, damn, we can just hire 1 guy instead of 8 guys.
Yeah.
Obviously, maybe your instructors made this difficult for you growing up, but do you think any of this had to do with being mixed Japanese specifically?
For those specific moments in my life, no. I'm really blessed in certain areas, and I'm born and raised more so in Torrance, California. And this area, because of Gardena, there's a huge Asian American, Japanese American population here. So I felt like I belonged. Honestly, half my school was like Japanese, mixed Japanese, something rather, one way or another. So I didn't feel like I was like out of place in that regard. It was honestly when I started working in the industry, I like really started to see a lot of people, all the Asians stuck together. So I grew up with like being mentored more so with Just Kidding Films, Wong Fu Productions. I got to really learn and work with them. And I was like, damn, why are all the Asians hanging out all the time? And then I started working on bigger like Hollywood productions. Everybody's more white or different ethnicity. And I'm always like the Asian dude on set.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I understand what everybody was talking about before. So what was the most difficult for me was when I was a nobody, Asian culture is so damn prideful. So,
All right.
yeah, I
Tell me
think
more.
so.
No,
I think
I
Asians
agree.
are very prideful.
Yeah.
Well,
I agree. No, I agree.
The Japanese really care about like, when I trained in Japan, the weirdest thing that I had was my mom and my aunt and my family came to watch me. They like, we have to come to class with you. I was like, you don't have to come to class. I just want to go work out. They're like, no, we have to watch. Everybody in the town knows who you are. They know your family. So you need to perform properly. Otherwise, you're going to bring shame to our family. I was
Wait,
like,
did they say
dude,
that?
what? Yeah.
In English, they're like, shame to your family.
Yeah. My mom said that.
It's like the most Japanese thing I've ever
I
heard.
was like, what? I'm just trying to work out.
How old are you? 18?
I was
This is
like
18.
17, 18, yeah. And I was like, what the fuck? This is crazy.
The funny thing is, like,
Yeah.
like sometimes people probably think it's like exaggerating, like, oh, you're gonna bring dishonor to our family, but in this
this
is
context,
very-
because I'm fighting, and I went with the Nagano, that's where my family's from, in Nagano.
Oh yeah.
And we went to train with the Japanese police force there. So
cool.
everybody that was training, working out there, everybody was in the police. And I ended up teaching them my style martial arts by the end of class because they were so impressed and happy. I was just literally like going, like straight up like a little kid, just happy to train. But it's not based out of like pride that I'm like there's notoriety or my last name or look at who I am. That was like my family was like kind of feeling that a little bit. And I was just happy to fucking be there as a kid.
Was your family well known for a certain reason, or?
So my grandfather and grandma were very, very popular for bringing ballroom dancing to light in that city.
No way.
So they were actually pushing for it to go to the Olympics when they were still alive. I believe their relatives helped build the first hospitals in town as well too. So it was like all very prestigious doctor, lawyer type of crowd. My mom's last name is Yoshida. So it's the Yoshida family, but there's a lot of Japanese who knows.
Yeah, there's a lot of Yoshidas.
Yeah.
Do you remember any interaction specifically maybe that was surprising to you or that you enjoyed, or?
I remember eating all the food and I was like, it's just like anime. This is so good. The attention to detail to the food that they have there. I think the Japanese take a lot of pride in the way that they do everything. To the Japanese, everything can be an art, and it should be, especially food. Where here, there's so much fast food culture where even if you're like sit down diner, it needs to be delivered at a certain pace because everybody's like, a little bit of entitlement here, 100%.
Yeah.
Where in Japan, we understand that there is a process of how they make their food and everything like that. So just eating at like a normal like ramen shop, I was like, oh my God, it's so good. I honestly think a huge part, the huge differences between the two are spirit. Like I think well-rounded, everybody in the room that I trained with in Japan had so much spirit. It necessarily didn't even matter how good they were, but you could tell that their intention to train was so raw. Like they had so much intention to be there. Where I feel like a lot of Americans here, again, it goes back to the percent in the room. Like 9 out of 10 people in the room are just doing the movements just to do it. And there's always that one person that you're like, holy shit, he's good. But in Japan, I think one of the biggest things that really separated things for me, it was my first experience not being able to fully speak the language, but learning how to fight people that you can't talk to. That's a whole other thing where we're learning to communicate through combat. And I don't understand you, and I'm 17, 18 years old. And that's where like my love for the arts really started to grow, because you build this camaraderie, this brotherhood, this respect for two artists without even speaking a single one of their languages. It's all through fighting.
I think one of the greatest things about martial arts and karate is there is no race, there is no age. It's just, are you good or are you not? And like, you know? So when the great thing about martial arts is just like, do you train and are you good? That's all that matters. And also like, you know, are you a good minded person? Are you a well-minded person?
Right. And that was the most enjoyable thing, was after we sparred, it was just an hour and a half of just sparring. And I was like, I'm super down, but these guys don't really wear pads. I think it was like shin pads and that was it. And it's bare knuckle combat straight to the chest. And I'm like, I am so in.
Damn.
So it was Kyokushin style. We went in, and by the end of class, everyone's smiling. And my mom is trying to translate, like, they want to learn your style. So I was teaching them my forms, the way I kick. And we stayed another hour just training like all styles, because everyone was just having such a blast. One of the big differences being mixed when I was younger was that because I'm obviously half Asian, half Japanese, I felt like Asians never accepted me. And I felt like white people never fully accepted me. So I was never accepted by both paths until I started gaining success. Once I started having some momentum, then everybody's like, all the Asians want to be with me.
do you think in Japan, at least, if you were like beating someone's ass,
at the end of the day, the race car goes out the window. Nobody gives a fuck. They're just like, dude, you could fight. That's awesome. Again, the Japanese are so well at picking this up. It's not just about if you can fight. It has to also do with like the humility factor too. It's so, the culture is literally, can I kick you in the head, but also I'm gonna bow after. You have to have that combination.
That respect is so good, it's almost like disrespect. Like bow, it's like, bow, damn, that was cold. He just knocked you out and bowed.
Yeah, Machida does that. That was his iconic thing.
I remember. Training in martial arts, both in Japan and America, do you ever feel like you tap into like the Japanese side or like the American side while you're training?
That's a really good question. The American culture, and Bruce Lee wrote a lot about this, and the Tao of Jeet Kune Do and all his writings, was the American way is about creativity. It's about individuality, and we kind of already talked about that. And I think that that concept is such an advanced and elite idea that honestly, I don't think everybody has earned the right to be creative. You need to go through the discipline factor first. You need to have the base of a Japanese spirit first, or whatever culture it is, and understand the way to climb and going there. Like when I first got my black belt, my dad's like, congratulations, you're now just starting. He's like, this is the beginning, is learning to get your black belt. And it's so true. Black belt just means I understand the basics. So after you've spent so many years, I think it is important to learn, how do I express myself? How do I want to create? How do I want to give back with my martial arts? Like, what does my art mean to me? And how can I influence other people? That idea is such an advanced concept. I don't think it's for everybody, but it is a beautiful way of living for sure.
When did it click where you're like, I need to train on my own, or I need to start using, you have the Japanese mindset of just like, just go, like, don't think, just do it. And then the creative mindset, like you're saying, Bruce Lee, and like using
more philosophical questioning. That's a great question. I started training when I was 4 years old, and my journey really started when I was 15 years old. I knew exactly what I was going to do the rest of my life. I knew that this was everything I was going to do. I didn't know how I was going to do it, but that's when I was like, I need to start fighting other fighters. I need to go compete. I need to test my martial arts. How can I use it? And then when I was 17, I got introduced to 4 different masters in all different styles. I didn't pay for a single class. They all took me in for free and all taught me like their son. So that's 17 till I was about 23 years old. That was my training arc. That was where I was truly developed as what you're seeing now. And then at 23 years old, that range was when I really started to develop who I was going to become the rest of my life.
How old are you now?
31, yeah. Now you're seeing the fruits of all the labor starting to come together.
You started Osu Films, I think. Was that at 23?
Yeah, so we actually started a Star Wars YouTube channel first.
Star Wars YouTube channel?
Star
You were
Wars.
one of those?
Yeah.
I remember those back. Yeah.
I was one of the first ones because my first video when I was 18, J.J. Abrams saw it.
J.J. Abrams saw your video?
Brought me into Bad Robot, mentored me on how to filmmake. Made my second video when I was 19. It got over 300 million views.
300 million?
Yeah, it's called Revenge of the Kids. I was one of the first people to ever do it. That video,
honestly, I've probably seen this video somewhere.
It's Revenge of the Kids. It's a video about, I got all these stunt kids to just do lightsaber choreography, but it's the idea of like, that's how I grew up as a kid in my front yard playing with lightsabers outside. I started getting opportunities with Sony Pictures, did some internal projects, but I really wanted to rebrand and not just do Star Wars when I was like 21, 22. All that money that we made helped us rebrand, make OS Films. And my entire company, all we focused on was my acting capabilities, how I was gonna become as a performer, and our storytelling abilities. But there was a clear, like distinctive moment where James Young, who was the fight choreographer for the Avenger movies, wanted me to do stunts in Atlanta with him and work on the films. And I didn't want to. I wanted to work on our little OS Films projects that I was spending all my money on. I made about 60 grand at that time. I was like 22, 23. I put all my money into this live action anime. It's called Legend of the Kickmaster.
Oh man, all right.
It was an absolute debacle.
No way.
It was pretty good. The fighting was really fun. The effects were fun, but the storytelling, it's hard doing live action anime. So it's just tough.
Well, talking about live action anime, One Piece broke the curse of live action anime.
Yep.
Are we going to see in
feel
season 2?
Hold on. I feel like Rurouni Kenshin was the best one.
We have to give it there.
That one was incredible. All those films are so good.
Are you going to do any kicks with Taz Skylar soon? Yeah,
I hope so, yeah.
Kenshi versus Sanji.
Sanji, that would be awesome. He reached out to me a while ago and they were in the middle of production. It's in Cape Town. Okay. So he said that the whole stunt crew, everybody knows me. And he's like, dude, I've been watching your videos to help get inspiration for the kicking for my character.
Yeah, bro. Stu was like, have you seen this guy? I was like, oh shit. Yeah, that's a good ref.
That's fucking awesome, dude.
And I would bookmark videos that you'd made.
And I was like, are you doing Sanji? That's fucking awesome. But he's like, come on out. We want you to Cape Town. Looked up prices. It's like triple the amount for a normal ticket. It was like $2,500. And I was like, bro, I'm not making it to Cape Town right now. I'm sorry.
maybe later. Do you have any words of encouragement for other half Japanese or mixed Japanese people who are growing up and maybe trying to figure out their identity?
My words of encouragement to you guys are find the best from both worlds, from where you live. There's such a beauty to the Japanese culture, and I'm sure that there's an even more beautiful world from the other side of where you come from. But learning to combine the beauty and learn from the mistakes of both cultures is such an important way of living. That's what's helped me reach the level that I've attained, and I think it's just a great way of being open-minded the rest of our lives.
Thanks, Noah, for being on here.
My man, no problem, dude.
It.
Of course.
And make sure to follow him, guys. All right, thank you.
Take care, guys. Thank you. Next episode in Japan.
Yeah.